Hi, this is your host, and today we're going to talk about why ancient civilizations vanished without a trace. Entire empires thrived for centuries, then suddenly collapsed. No wars, no invasions, just silence. What really happened? We tend to think of history as a continuous narrative. Even major shifts like the fall of Rome or the beginning of the Bronze Age feel like natural breaks in the story of humanity. But most societies just sort of fade into the background noise of history. The Indus Valley Civilization is one of those. This culture arose around 2800 BCE in what is now Pakistan and northwest India. At its peak around 1500 BCE, it was home to over 5 million people across a territory roughly the size of France. Its cities were sophisticated with advanced sewage systems, public buildings, and high walls. Scholars believe they had a writing system, though we haven't deciphered it yet. But by 1300 BCE, the civilization was abandoned. Its cities were completely empty. And within a few hundred years, its script fell out of use and its memory faded from the subcontinent. The Indus Valley isn't alone. Look around the Mediterranean. There are the Minoans, an advanced Bronze Age civilization on the island of Crete, who built magnificent palaces and traded with Egypt and Mesopotamia. But by 1450 BCE, their great cities were burned and destroyed, and their culture was gone. Then there's Mycenae, a warrior culture whose kings ruled over mainland Greece in the late Bronze Age. Their citadel-like palaces dominated the landscape, and their linear B script is the earliest form of Greek we have. But after a series of devastating earthquakes around 1200 BCE, Mycenaean society collapsed. Its people were either killed or scattered. And once again, an advanced civilization seemed to vanish into thin air. As recently as 1600 years ago, the Kingdom of Kush was a major power in Nubia, located in modern-day Sudan. For centuries, they controlled the trade in gold and ivory along the Nile River, and even conquered Egypt for a brief period. But by the 15th century CE, the kingdom was in decline, and by the 17th century, it was completely forgotten. In the Americas, the great city of Cahokia was once home to 10,000 people in what is now Illinois. It had towering platforms, earthen pyramids, and a grid-like street plan, but by 1400 it was abandoned. The question is, why? How did these seemingly invincible societies go from powerful and prosperous to utterly vanished in just a few hundred years? To answer that question, we need to look at three factors: climate change, war, and migration. Let's start with climate change. We generally think of climate change as a slow process, but it can be surprisingly rapid. Take the Maya, a civilization in Central America whose classic period lasted from 250 to 900 CE. During this time, they built great cities and developed a complex calendar and writing system. But by the 9th century, most Maya cities were abandoned. Drought, soil erosion, and overuse of resources are believed to have caused widespread famine, which led to warfare between Maya city-states. Eventually, the whole civilization collapsed. Or take the Akkadian Empire, one of the oldest in human history. It flourished in Mesopotamia from 2300 to 2100 BCE, but then it was followed by a long period known as the Old Babylonian period. In between was a little ice age that lasted from 2000 to 1800 BCE. This sudden shift in climate caused food shortages and population decline. The empire simply couldn't recover. But let's look beyond the environment, because warfare and migration also played a big role in the collapse of several ancient societies. Take the Kingdom of Kush, for instance. By 1500 CE, the kingdom was under attack from two powerful enemies, the Ottoman Empire to the north and the Kingdom of Zimbabwe to the south. Unable to defend itself, Kush was gradually absorbed by these two powers. Or consider the mysterious disappearance of the island of Melos. Located in the Aegean Sea, the island was home to a thriving civilization in the late Bronze Age. But in 1200 BCE, it was destroyed, and its people enslaved by the invading Mycenaeans. Finally, we have migration. The Indus Valley civilization may have been wiped off the map by a sudden influx of new people. Around 1900 BCE, the ancestors of the modern-day Iranians migrated into the region and may have overwhelmed the Indus cities. Meanwhile, new genetic studies suggest that the mysterious collapse of the Akkadian Empire may have been caused by the sudden arrival of Indo-European nomads who assimilated the empire's inhabitants. So, why do civilizations vanish without a trace? Because history rarely has a single explanation. Usually it's a combination of climate change, warfare, migration, and other factors. Often it seems like these civilizations were simply too successful. As historian Jared Diamond wrote in his book Collapse, when a society develops advanced technologies and complex institutions, it tends to put pressure on its environment and eventually reaches a breaking point. That being said, it's important to remember that these societies weren't weak. The Indus people, the Maya, and the Kingdom of Kush all had the potential to bounce back from droughts, earthquakes, and invasions. But they were living in an era defined by constant change. Sudden climate shifts, waves of migration, and new technologies forced them to adapt or die. In the end, they vanished, not because they were weak, but because they vanished before we had a chance to write their final chapter. Thank you for watching.